Hello everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to the channel where I'm going to be doing a review of these Arteza watercolor tubes. And I know what you might be thinking, not another medium that I have to watch be reviewed. Hopefully you're not thinking that. But disclaimer number one, I am here to tell you that I am no one's enabler. If you're not in the market, then just have fun with us throughout this video. And disclaimer number two, I am by no means a professional watercolorist. If on the spectrum of talent, if watercolor equals, let's say, the symphony, then I would say I'm at the 4th grade flute level. So I asked Arteza if I could play with some of their paints. Little did I know they would send me 60 of them. I was hoping for maybe 5, but I got 60, and they also sent me their watercolor paper, which is phenomenal. And so I am going to go through and just give you a card maker's take on watercolors because I wanted to have a nice palette to play with. So let's talk about some of the things about this 60 set. So if you are a serious watercolorist, you will know exactly what all these symbols and doohickeys are on the box. I looked up, Google was my friend, and I tried to find out what some of this stuff was. So I'm actually learning a lot as I go through this process. But they have some measurements on here like light fastness, transparency, and pigment number. And those are on every single tube. And so, by the way, side note, I'm only going to show you in slow-mo these first 2 colors. And I don't know why I was working backwards. I have no idea, but what I did was I put a little bit of the paint on my glass mat right below my surface, and for some reason I just started working backwards, but I fixed that on the next set of colors, just so you know. We're not going backwards the whole time. Okay, and I'm going to speed it up here for everybody. So back to the box. So it has these different measurements here. Now light fastness is going to be the indication of the resistance a hue has to changing when it's exposed to light. So in amateur terms, that means will it fade or not? So supposedly, and this is from the website, so take that for what it's worth, but from the website, the definition I just read you was from Google, but the website says that they have high light fastness, which means they're going to stand the test of time. That's what the website said. So I have no idea if that's true. If you look on the box, it gives a like 3 crosses / 2 crosses, but everywhere online I found light fastness was measured in Roman numerals, 1 and 2 being the best. So I have no idea what that means. If someone is an actual watercolorist and wants to comment below, help a sister out. Okay, so next we have transparency, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. Just how much can you see through it? Is it translucent or is it pigmented? That's my definition of it. And then pigment number. So those are the things that are on the box. Like I said, there's so many colors. So as I'm swatching them out, I'm actually trying to do a little bit of a technique so I can see the range of color from the darkest or deepest pigment to the lightest. So I'm putting down, I have a glass of clean water and dirty water. So I'm taking my paintbrush, I am dipping it in the dirty water to clean it off, drying it off, getting some clean water, adding it to the paint, and then you can see me right at the top adding it. Then I'm going to stop halfway through. I'm going to clean the brush, get a little bit of clean water, and go back and pull out the rest of that. Okay, so again, I have my paintbrush, it's clean, I dip it in the paint with a little bit of clean water, go and start at the top and stop halfway. Because that was, I've noticed, a big problem of mine when I'm watercoloring. I just want to put color all over the image, just color all the things. And that's where you're going to lose that ability to get some gradient and some shading. And so stop. Just stop it. So make sure that you give yourself a chance to pull out that color with a clean water brush. I think that was my biggest lesson learned as I was swatching these out. And I have to tell you, swatching all these colors was absolutely therapeutic. I enjoyed it so much. Hey, I just told you I wasn't going to go backwards. So I don't know what I was doing here. that apricot that I just did on the lower left-hand corner, it's not apricot at all. It's actually green. So the apricot and the green are going to be switched. Just FYI. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Very therapeutic. I enjoyed it very much. In an effort to make up for where I lack in knowledge when it comes to watercoloring, I want to link below to a review I found that was very helpful. So I learned a lot in her review, and she seems to know a lot more about the intricacies of what the paints do. And so if you want to check that out, I'll link that below so you can do that. I don't want you to be disappointed by this review in hopes that maybe, you know, if this is like you're serious about this, and I don't want to, you know, waste your time. Okay, so I'll put that below. All right, so as you noticed, I have been putting up the colors on the screen so that you could see which colors are which. I would say that, I mean, I want you to have all the things. So yay, 60 colors is awesome to have, and it's fun, but is it necessary? That's up to you. There's different sets that you can get from Arteza if you're interested in these art supplies. I am really actually very impressed with Arteza's price point, because when you're like a new artist or a new crafter and you're just getting started, you really want something with quality that's not going to break the bank. And my art, you guys know if you follow my channel, my Arteza markers are like my babies, and I think there are 46 of them for maybe $35, which I find to be phenomenal. The Zig markers are way more expensive. I paid $110 for 80 of them, and I still have new colors in the Arteza, so between the two of them, I'm set. But I just think that that is like an egregious difference in price. So that's probably why you wonder why I don't show Zigs too much on my channel, because I feel like the Artezas are just as good. For me, this is my opinion, they're just as good, and they're a fraction of the price. And so I would rather show you those and use those. And, you know, if you're interested in getting something like that, not having to pay, you know, an arm and a leg. So anyway, that's just my take on the price point. These are retailing for $38.99 for the 60 set. Again, great. And I have to tell you, these tubes are going to last me 20,000 years. There's so much paint in them for what you do. And for watercoloring, you see those little tiny drops right up there in the frame? I still have paint left over on my glass mat, and I can't bring myself to take it to the sink and rinse it off. I can't do it. So I put them down. They're dried, so I just put them down on the floor, and I'll pull it out whenever I'm doing a craft project until they're all gone. So on that note, in the next few videos, you're going to see some watercoloring happening because I just don't want to waste them. So here I'm working on the violets and blues, which have basically its own tube set. I didn't work in any rainbow order on the front page because they didn't come in any rainbow order. And so I wasn't about to knock them out of their little home. I mean, they came in that order. That's the order in which I swatched them, which probably isn't the most clever thing to do, because then your eye has to jump around to find different colors of the rainbow. But so that's a good point for you if you want to put all your colors together and then do it. I compartmentalize in a different way. I have a hard time breaking things up. So that's a good idea if you would rather do that. And I'll probably end up doing that anyway. Probably just another reason to swatch. So I'll sit here and watch Netflix and swatch out my paints again. Oh, on the note of the triangles. So the triangles are just a stamp from Crump Springs geometric pattern stamp set that I had. So I don't feel like you have to buy any kind of fancy stamp that's made for watercoloring. Just pick something that has an opening. Voila, you can color inside of it. Could be anything. Could be a heart. Oh, that'd be fun. That might be my next swatching situation. So here's my colors all swatched out. Okay, so let's get into the card making. So the first card that I'm going to make, I'm actually going to do some watercoloring on it. I only use one color per image that I color in on this. And watch, and I did that on purpose because I didn't quite want to blend. I'm going to blend in a little bit, but on the first card, I'm just going to use one color. This is from the same geometric stamp set, and I'm going to stamp this out, and I'm using VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and that is waterproof ink, which is really great, but on that note, it doesn't matter because I'm going to heat emboss it. What that means is I'm using some, the ink is sticky already, I'm using some clear embossing powder, and then I'm going to heat it up to give me some canals that I can work inside, and it helps contain the watercolor. So again, only showing you the first diamond here, I guess these are, jewels, in real time. And that's just so that I'm not rushy all the way through it. But notice I'm doing the same exact thing. So clean brush, get some clean water on it, dip it into the color that I want. Then I'm going to clean off the brush in the dirty water. Then dip it into the clean water, grab and then no color. And then I'm going to pull out the color that's already on the paper. So I noticed when my daughter was playing with these watercolors, because I gave her some as well of the tubes, she had a little bit of a hard time getting a gradient because she was just going all over the paper. Also, there was a little bit of where her paper was kind of looked like it had harsh lines, and so there was a couple reasons for that. One, I gave her cheap paper. I think just some stuff I had in my stash, so shame on me. Two, she was heavy-handed with the first way she was holding her brush, and so it was more scratchy looking. And three, she was putting down too much paint. So I was working with her. So just keep in mind, if you are getting a result you don't like, try to look at some of those options. You know, are you using decent paper? Are you using too much or not enough water? So just play around with it. This is coming from someone who is in the process of learning as I go. So every time I watercolor and I share it with you all, I'm going to share what I'm learning. So I just, you know, it's going to be a process. Now these are going down really pretty, and I don't think that I show you the second coat, but I believe the blue, the yellow, and the red, I put down a second coat on them after they're dried, just because I wanted it to be a little bit more stark color. But look at the results of these. I think these are beautiful. I always hesitate when I'm doing a review, especially when I've been given the product for free, because if you've watched Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter, she did a video on review bias, and she's absolutely right. Like, part of you just wants what you got for free to work so well. There is like a little piece of you, unless you're just, you know, more analytical than me, I suppose. I don't want to say, I'm not even going to use the negative word, but if you're more analytical, then you might be able to break apart some of those things. But I get so giddy just with life in general that everything seems to turn out to be rainbows and butterflies. It's terrible. But so I have to take a step back and say, okay, make sure this is a realistic and real review, like honestly. And so I'm trying, I really like them, but I'm trying to make sure that I am being as objective, I guess that's the word, as I possibly can be. And I think if I knew more about watercolors, I would be able to give you more of that objective review. That's why I want to link the video below, because I feel like she does that. So for me though, these watercolors so far are turning out to be super fab. Now in this next card, I'm just doing a very light wash. There's a neon pink in the set, which Adia, of course, was enamored with. But I wanted to try to do like an ombre look on it. Well, I just couldn't get the darkness on the top, so I added some of that rose color at the top just to kind of, you know, bring it down, and I got this beautiful ombre look. And I had to go back and forth quite a bit. That's why this is sped up. But I really like the way this turned out, and of course you just want to let that dry, or you can hit it with your heat tool. Either way, if you have a smooth blend, it's not going to hurt it with the heat tool. This one was a lot of fun. This was the next watercolor background that I'm doing. I'm going to be mixing some colors. To me, this mix of colors is just mesmerizing. I love how they kind of just fall into each other. I'm also doing a wet on wet technique, so that means my paper is wet, and it is going to kind of let that paint do its own thing. So instead of all the control from me, it's just going to let it kind of filter out. Now I'm going back in with a second coat because although this first coat is just heavenly, I wanted to see what I can do just by adding another coat and how those would darken up and deepen out. So I'm adding a little bit of spritzes from my water mister as well as I go, just to kind of move some of that color around if I felt like there wasn't enough water. Here, right here, when I add this last layer of the purple is just where I'm like, oh yeah, that's where it's at. So pretty. Love the way that that came out. And I have my papers taped down because I wanted to make sure that the colors laid flat and they didn't move around too much. All right, so we're going to make some sentiments here. This is a Neat and Tangled set, and I love this set. It's got so many awesome sentiments. I am going to be using a lot of these cards that I'm making for the children's card drive that we're doing from work. And so if you want to participate, I'll put the information below. They're going to go to children's hospitals in Seattle and Philadelphia. And one of the things I'm doing here is I'm making a bunch of sentiments at once. I don't know why in my 10 years of card making I have not done this yet, but this is incredible. So I am just heat embossing so many of these awesome, encouraging sentiments. I'm going to read some of them to you. Not necessarily the ones I have there, but on the stamp set. I'm so glad we're friends. I miss you every day. I believe in you. Happy, happy birthday. I'm here for you. You make me happy. I like you ever so much. I knew you could do it. I'm so proud of you. You can do hard things. You can count on me. Thanks for being there for me. You are all kinds of awesome. Always look on the bright side. You are so brave. Oh, I love that. Dream big. Smile. You are the reason I smiled today, and your friendship means so much to me. I read those out to you because I find this to be one of the most encouraging stamp sets I own, and for all occasions. So this is a good one. And so anyway, I heat embossed a whole bunch of them on this black cardstock. Now I'm showing you with my little Fiskars guillotine. You don't have to, you can cut perfectly with little things. Just line it up with that plastic piece right there, and you'll get a perfect cut every time. So now I have my finished panel and a bunch of these awesome sentiments already ready to go. I put them in a little baggie. And I feel like black with white embossing goes on so many cards, so these are going to be super useful. And it only took me how long to do? Maybe about 10 minutes to do all those sentiments. On the back of this card panel, I want it to pop up, so I'm putting a little bit of this fun foam with this scrapbook.com adhesive on the back. This will flatten out my card a lot. It actually makes it pretty darn straight. If you have any warping, this is a great technique to get rid of that warping. So once that's done, I'm matting it on some black cardstock just to make that pop, and then I am going to add some black Nuvo drops. So I feel like this is a good card for a male or a female, and I love that sentiment, you can do hard things. So that will finish up the first card. Now that was the card I used, the Tim Holtz Distress watercolor cardstock. You can tell it's super stark white. This next one pulls out a Bella, Stamp and Bella set that a friend, Lila, gifted me. I love this little gal. She has a glass of wine in her hand, and it says, "May your glass always be half full." When Adia saw this, she's like, I don't get it. And so it was funny trying to explain a saying and then a different spin on the saying, because she wasn't understanding it. And then eventually she was like, oh, okay, so you want to be optimistic in life. I was like, you sure do. With some wine in your glass. You're going to be very optimistic. For this beautiful lady, I stamped her out and then I colored her in with gel pens over my watercoloring. So gel pens, don't underestimate those bad boys because they can color in, they're opaque, and I used glitter gel pens on most of her so that she sparkles because she's fabulous, okay? And you can see all of that sparkle and shine right there. So anyway, that one came out. I like the way that one came out. And then this one, I'm going to do some heat embossing with my sentiment. This is one of the new Neat and Tangled sentiment sets for Valentine's Day or for just whenever. Love you. And I'm going to be using this Cloud 9 Wow embossing powder. So I had some issues with this embossing powder, and I think it was operator error. But it was very, very staticky. And I think maybe if I mixed it up, that wouldn't be that way, but the first coat went on okay, and my idea was to do like this really, look at this. I was going to do like this really puffy, beautiful sentiment, and it just turned out to be a mess for me, so I just went in with some regular silver here to finish off the job. And I like the way that my end result was, but I don't know what the issue was with my my wow glitter. If you guys have had that issue, just share, and I would like to know what you do to combat that. So here I'm finished with the sentiment on the front, and then I'm going to put that on some gray cardstock. And my finishing touch for this card here is going to be a whole bunch of sequins. I have this neat and tangled set right here, and I thought that the color scheme matched perfectly. So I am going to take some little Nuvo glue, and I'm just going to place the Nuvo glue all over. This is breaking all kinds of sequence rules of 3, okay? This is like my rule of 25. Put down your sequence and have some fun with it. So that is what I'm doing. This pickup stick I'm using is just a really super cheap tool from Amazon. You get like 6 to a pack. I am actually going to be coming up with a video soon of 5 tools that you can buy at super cheap prices that will get the job done for crafting. I am finding that there are a little bit too many tools out there that are costly, and so I'm going to be doing a sort of a review slash save your money, buy this product instead, and here's why video, because I'm on the hunt for a good deal, so I'm going to be sharing that. That's going to be upcoming in the next week or so. So be on the lookout. But I'm just going to be adding down all my sequins just haphazardly, sort of haphazardly, but in a cluster of ways. Then the last thing I'm going to do, which I don't show you on camera, is I'm going to take some Sparkle Nuvo. It's clear sparkle or glitter drops, and I'm going to place those right in the middle of the sequence. I thought that added just a really pretty touch, and you're going to be able to see it in the final pictures of this card. So that'll be coming up here in a second, and you'll get to see that close up. So that is it for these 3 cards. Thank you so much for stopping by, for hanging with me through this review. Hopefully it was helpful. If you are in the market for a watercolor set, I would highly recommend Arteza, especially if you are starting out. I think it's really good quality. I've had some great luck playing around with these colors, and I've done like 3 other cards, so you're going to see in the next, I would say, week and a half, my cards are using these watercolors, just because I want to see what else they could do for our craft, for card making. But hopefully it was helpful. Let me know in the comments section if you have any questions whatsoever. There is going to be a coupon down below from Arteza. If you're interested, it's 10% off your order. Once again, thanks for hanging with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.